Hey guys, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my dump, man. Man, my voice sounds weird. I don't sound like me. I gotta talk quiet. It's in the middle of the night, man. It's at 3 a.m. I gotta talk to you guys about something. Why am I whistling? What I want to talk to you about tonight, guys, is this list. We'll start with my medications and my dreams and my sleep. One moment. But first, man, I want to show you Mr. Happy. You want to see Mr. Happy? I used to have some of Kyle's weights stacked on the rock block for traction this winter. Check it out. I took the weights off and put Mr. Happy on top of the rock block. Hey, Mr. Happy. What's going on, man? The rock block weighs 95. Mr. Happy weighs 90, or vice versa. I can't remember. Check it out. I've got him up on brakes to take the weight off of my new tires. Because there he sits. There sits Jed until the snowflakes descend on us, as if they already haven't at universities all across the nation. But I digress. Blitzy, what's going on, man? I can be myself out here. Hang on, I'd take you with me. Blitzy gotta go pee-pee. We gotta turn the light on, Blitzy. It's been rainy. It might be rainy. See ya. Okay, guys. I have to talk quiet now. All I gotta do is say, where's the squirrels? Shh. Anyway, man, let's go back inside. I want to talk about my list, my meds. One moment. Okay, guys, I'm back in my bedroom. I can talk a little louder now. I don't have to whisper talk. You want to see something sweet, man. I got y'all set up to start my talk, but let me pick you up and show you. Hi, baby boy. Blitzy, you ready to make a movie for the fellas? He says, yep, let's go, Dad. Just shortly ago, a while ago, my PTSD symptoms, which I was clearly suffering, they basically went by the wayside, at least the nighttime related ones. My PTSD symptoms took two forms. One was the loss of transportation. They were all transportation-related nightmares in which I was in strange situations with no hope and no way to get out because of lack of transportation. The other form was medically related symptoms. And I honestly couldn't figure out why I was suffering them. Because not all of my experiences in biomedical engineering were bad. Many were strange. Many were very good. Many were cause for PTSD. But I kept wondering, why didn't I ever suffer these symptoms while in the career, right? I never did. Some things bothered me. When I was new to the career and working in surgery, walking down the hallway at Hurley Medical Center that connected all the OR sub-hallways, because I was paged, and hearing the clang, clang, clang ringing out all throughout the operating suites. And as I walked closer, realizing, oh, damn, that's the room I'm paged to. Well, that didn't cause me any PTSD symptoms. nor did an incident involving a surgery in which I had to intervene when there was question about a electrosurgical generator. We'll call that story Screams of Torture. Did it bother me? Yeah, it bothered me. Did it cause me PTSD symptoms? Hey, nope. Moving on, Henry Ford Hospital. The human mice hybrids didn't bother me. They were fascinating. The ones with electrodes in their skulls were sad, but I could understand the science. The human baby zygotes cryogenically frozen in liquid nitrogen fascinated me. The infants, Roger and Ralph, too, the skeletal infants, whom each had a rectangular glass container full of formaldehyde, they were mostly skeletal. They didn't bother me. They were my friends. I used to go to the E&R building specifically to visit Roger and Ralph II, to say hi to them, man. Man, I worked all alone in a 17-story high education and research laboratory building, man. Oh boy, I could tell you a good story about pure reagent grade acetic acid, what it does to your hand. The black dog in surgery, having cardiac surgery, he bothered me bad. That poor doggy. I've mentioned this story before, and I won't tonight because moving on. Next on the list, emails. That's the reason why I'm making this video, guys. I needed to apologize because the more I became me, the more motivation returned to my life, and interest in the things that I used to do returned to my life after phasing myself off of the meds. The interest in electronics again. Not fear of it. Oh, I forgot the moral of the story, man. All that right there, man. You know why I never suffered the PTSD symptoms then, and I do now? I reference only 2 videos I did entitled Answering Why to the F Question. My career was jerked right on out of my life, right out from under me, and I never went back. That's why. Moving on. Emails. The more well I became mentally, the more me I became emotionally after the cessation of my head meds. The more I was able to cope with the normal parts of everyday life. Oh, I wanted to. I cared about it, the stuff. I intended to do this stuff. I intended to check my email 1 billion times over the last year and a half. 2 minutes later, the thought's gone. I gotta quit waving this shit around in the lower corner of your screen. I'm sorry. And it became a dark entity in my life that I was feared like you can't believe. Well, I'm now able to cope with it, and my primary Gmail account is now down to, I think, 72 emails. All the business stuff is read, dealt with. Now, problem with these 72 emails, guys, they're all emails from my disabled older sister. They're email from you guys. regarding this crap, regarding my multi-tap onions and my Michigan cacti, and man, I owed you guys. When you do this shit, man, you kind of gotta be a stand-up dump operator. In my case, you know, you might be the proprietor of a landfill, sir, but damn, run a tidy landfill for Christ's sake. And I was not. All of the remaining emails are very important emails that should have been replied to within a day. Look, I used to be just as good about the comment handling, although it gets harder and harder with every video you post. I could keep up with it if I were in normal times. I used to. Ooh, so what to do now? Well, start chipping away at them, man. I wanted to post this video first. An email apology. That's what I'm calling it. An email apology. Boy, I better move along because I've got to edit this now. Okay, so that's my primary goal at this point. I'm not going to post a Heathkit HW16 video until I've dealt with all 72 of those emails. Okay, moving on. Arm bicep. I thought my arm was healed when I made the last video. I found out otherwise shortly after making the video, It's a problem with my bicep in my left arm. It's torn. I felt it tear when Kyle and I unloaded his toolbox and figured, well, it'll heal. Yeah, I figured wrong. Blozo blew it, boys. And I'm no doubt going to need surgery to repair it. I'm really limited in what I can do, man. I can work at the bench here, though. That's not a problem. I'm sure surgery is going to be recommended, as the only option. And the only problem with that is I've had stent installations done in a cath lab. I've had a nightmare experience in the cath lab with heart attacks. Which is why that's why my whole career in biomedical engineering, I maintained all the physiological monitors in the cath lab at Henry Ford. And I frequently worked in the cath lab at Hurley. And that's one of the only two, I think, departments in the whole medical centers that I swore I would never become a patient in. But I'm not excited about the prospects of surgery for obvious reasons, because I am a cardiac patient and I bleed profusely. I take drugs to thin my blood, and I take a drug to decrease the coagulation factor. So, what you're looking at here, guys. Oh no. See that pile? See those light bulbs? I'll pick you up in a second, okay, and show you. That case right there, that's called a dim bulb tester. Now let me swing it back around. Yeah, I feel like myself when I do that, sadly. What you're looking at is a schematic for a device called a dim bulb current limiter. Most of you, or many of you, know what it is. Some don't. I bet the mower guys don't know. I wonder if there's any mower guys that watch my babblage. Anyway, it's a dim bulb current limiter. Oftentimes, it takes, I'm going to pick you up. Oftentimes, it takes the form of simply this. A light bulb screwed into a socket with a couple wires. You put those wires in series with the radio you're powering on. You screw in various wattage bulbs as needed depending on the current draw, the power rating, power consumption of the device you're working on, The bigger the radio, the higher wattage bulb, you'd want to screw in that socket. Although by screwing in low wattage bulbs, it gives you some control over the charging of electrolytic capacitors for reforming them. If you don't know what reforming an electrolytic is, it is a process of slowly applying a voltage to a, I'm going to brighten this up for you, hopefully. It's the process of slowly applying a voltage to an electrolytic capacitor that hasn't been used in many, many, many years or decades. And in some cases, you can arguably resurrect a capacitor that's bad. A filter capacitor that's bad, what can it do? Well, it can do a lot of things, man. It'll get hot. It'll place a serious burden on the power transformer, if there is one. It'll draw loads of current. And if it's bad enough, and if situations, it can explode spectacularly. So you reform them. Even if you know you're going to replace them, it's nice to be able to at least energize the device and for further troubleshooting before you order parts, for example. So, one moment. Okay, let's walk through this schematic. I've told you what a current limiter is, why you use it. Another reason to use it, guys. Let's say I've got a vintage radio of any kind. It's old. How old? 30, 40 years? 50, 60, 70 years? Any of those would warrant the use of a dim bulb when first energizing the device. And besides reforming the capacitors slightly, in the case of a catastrophic failure or short, it'll only allow so much current to flow through your device under test, your radio. It limits the amount of current flowing. And will save power transformers. And should prevent some fireworks. Let's take a walk through here. Before we take the walkthrough, since we talked about how much current it can limit your device under test to, look down here. Even if you short these output terminals together, it's only going to flow as much current as you have in lamps here. If only the 43-watt lamp is selected with a switch, then you're only going to flow 0.36 amps max. You can't flow more than that. That's the current flow with a dead short. With a 73-watt bulb, 0.61 amps. With both bulbs selected, 116-watt lamp, in effect, 0.97 amps max can flow through your device under test. And that's one of the features I wanted in my dim bulb tester. I wanted to be able to select one of 3 loads with a flip of a switch. I'm going to be building it using ordinary garden variety household light switches. Okay, I'll use the same type of light switch for the mains. I'll have an LED, a red LED, to indicate when this machine is active. The resistor value I'll talk about in a moment. I've explained that I want to have 3 different current limiting levels. That's done by selecting either the low power lamp, the high power lamp, or both in parallel, lighting them both And then I wanted another switch to be able to bypass the current limiting bulbs, which will apply full power, limited only by this fuse, to your output, which in my machine will be an ordinary household duplex outlet. The fuse rating I selected was only 1 amp for a reason. That's 120 watts in the US applied to this receptacle. If I were in Europe or down under, I'd have chosen a half an amp, because that'll allow up to 120 watts to be delivered to this receptacle. And that's not going to work for TV sets. Nope. This is for radios, for radio receivers and transmitters, as long as you don't transmit. As long as you don't throw them in transmit mode. You could energize the high voltage section of a transmitter using this. It'll deliver 120 watts. So, and I wanted a way of metering the output, and I want an analog meter. It tells volumes about capacitor reforming. It really does. You know, you start delivering power to your load, and the current will go way up, and it'll start coming back. You know, start coming back as the caps reform. Turn that little lamp off, turn the next one on, boom, it goes up again, and then it starts coming back again. And now this is done with you're done with a variac. In my case, I would use a variac still and set to a low value while I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Maybe 50, 60 volts. And then you can click in this switch, short the load, and now then you'll be delivering full power at 50 or 60 volts to your load. You'll see the current go up again, and as the caps keep on reforming, it'll come back down again. And from that point on, guys, you start bumping up the variac in 20 or 30 volt steps. That's how I would energize a Virgin vintage radio. Okay, that's a schematic. I talked about resistor R1. The value. Hang on. Fun with the maths. Resistor R1, 120 volts RMS, is 340 volts peak to peak. Only interested in half the waveform. The LED is going to be blinking. 170 volts peak. Minus 1.6 volts for the diode voltage drop, 168.4. Divided by 20 mils, boom, 8.42K. What if all you have is an 8.2K standard value? 20.537 mils. The current flow through the diode only went up by half a mil. That's great. What if all you got's a 10K? What if you just like 10K resistors? I do. Do you? I don't know why. Brown, black, yellow. You know what I mean? Boom. It'll reduce the current flow of the diode. How much? 16.85 mils? That's great. Because I'm going to be using some old-fashioned ass diodes, and they're happy with 15 or 20 mils. They just don't care. Resistor R1. Fun with the maths. Don't bother. Personal info. Redacted with whiteout. But I digress. The Dimbo tester. The sockets, real ceramic. They'll be mounted on top. On top of what? That container of parts? No. Hey, look, on our way down. That's my ammeter. Oh, I wish I would have bought an output analog voltmeter. Oh, I wish I would have. I had this plastic project case. It's been sitting on my shelf for years. And yeah, it's not going to sit on my shelf anymore, man. Light switches. Right? Meter. Output receptacle. Lamps. I hear heavy breathing, man. Blitzy gets a little bit emotional when I make a video. And it's very late now. I promised Kyle this would only take 20 minutes, and because of my ineptitude and repeated failures at my attempts at recording, I've been in here at it for an hour. I hope I can salvage something out of this. I hope a couple of you hung in there long enough for me to apologize and hope to hopefully explain a little bit more about my email nightmare. If you have ever sent me an email to my Charles Kirschman account and I haven't replied to it, I'm so sorry, man. I will be shortly in the next couple days. Because I'm not going to do anything else on YouTube until I do. I'm not going to do anything else, period, until I do. I'm not going to work on this project until I do. And I apologize to you. And in the future, going forth, since that account is hit so heavy with business and spam and such things, I'll be linking my email account to you so that I've linked my phone to, and set that account as the only one allowed to alert me on my phone. And that account is my full name with a period between them, my nickname, period, last name at Gmail, and I'll link it below. I don't like to do that because it's pretty easy for scammers to detect it unless you fill it with nonsense. But thanks for watching. I hope you're well. And and I'll be back real soon. Take care, guys. Bye now.